So here are just some of the things that I am going to be using to decorate my new sketchbook. So I have my sketchbook here, and then I have some glue and a paintbrush and a small bowl so that I can start gluing everything to my front and back cover. Over here I have some clear tape, electrical tape, and some duct tape. I have just a couple of acrylic paint tubes that I had laying around, some stickers, some scrapbook paper, some wrapping paper that's been crumpled up just to give it some more texture. I have an old photograph that I printed, some comic book newspaper, my old sketchbook that I will go through and maybe just rip out some of the pages to glue on there. And then over here I have a couple of my favorite snacks, a sticker from the top of a coconut butter and a wrapper from a protein bar. I have some Sharpies. I have this Sharpie right here, which is white. I think will look really great on top of my black sketchbook, and just some more wrapping paper. So these are just a few of the ideas that you can use, but you can really use just about anything to decorate the front and back cover of your sketchbook. So the first thing I want you to do is get anything and everything you think you may want to add. So any type of paper, any type of wrappers, stickers. I had sushi last night and I love sushi, so I'm going to use maybe some of this and organize it, and then start picking what you want from it so that you can have a nice clean working space. So for example, from these chopsticks that I used last night, maybe all I want is just this little section that says sushi maki. Over here with all these stickers, I'm going to pull out stickers that spell out art. So I'm going to find an A, an R, and a T. For the comic book, for example, the comic book strips, for the comic strips, maybe I'm just going to find one that I really like and tear it. So you can either, I really like how things look torn rather. So maybe I'll just use some of this. You can also use scissors, but like I said, I really love that texture it gives with that torn edge, so I'll go through that. Another thing I would suggest you go through is maybe you have some old artwork. You can flip through it. For example, I really love this page, so I'm gonna rip this out of my sketchbook and maybe use just one section of it. So I'm gonna go through the pages that I really love and maybe just choose a section of it. For example, I really love, I really love this one. So I'm gonna pull this out, and I won't use the whole page, but maybe I'll just use this little section of it. Okay, so I'm gonna go through all of my things. I'm gonna choose exactly what I want, make a little pile of it over here, and then I'm going to start gluing. Now for the glue, the way we're going to attach everything is in a bowl, okay, with an old paintbrush. You are going to take a bottle of glue, or they sell something called Mod Podge, which you can also use, and I am going to use that with my brush to start attaching things to my sketchbook. So go ahead and find the things that you need, that you think you may want. Start ripping and tearing them and making a little section of what you are going to use to add to your sketchbook, as well as any markers that you may be able to use to draw like right on your sketchbook. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so now I am ready. So I opened up my book so that I can see both the front cover and the back cover. I have all of my pieces that I want organized here to the right of me. And one of the things that I like to do before I just start cutting and gluing it is on one side, or maybe next to it, I start placing things the way I think I might like them on one side. So instead of just starting to glue, I start building up my composition. So for example, maybe I want this here, and I want that there. Maybe I want this over here. I definitely want art. And so I'm gonna play around with it a little bit, and once I figure out exactly how I want it and how I want it to lay on my front cover, then I can start gluing the pieces together and gluing them to my cover. And I do plan on leaving some empty spaces. For example, I have this really cool pen and I can draw right on my book as well. So I do want to leave some empty spots, but once I figure out how I want to glue it, then I can begin so that I can show you how this works. I am going to take my glue and my paintbrush and I'm going to dip and drag. That's something that we always do when we paint. We dip and we drag, and basically that's what you're doing with this glue. You are painting, and I'm going to begin with this piece. So I am going to basically paint on the glue, and once I have that area covered of where this is going to go, maybe a little bit more over here, then I will go ahead and lay it down. And once I have it exactly where I want it, I am then going to add glue on top. This is going to give it almost like a little glossy finish, but it's also going to ensure that your image sticks to your surface. And once we have everything placed, we are going to put another coat on top. Now, for example, this is a sticker, so I don't really need to add glue to the back of it. So if this is a sticker, I can just go ahead and place it. And I am going to make sure that I do overlap some areas. So there you go. I'm going to give you some time to work on your own. Make sure you overlap. Make sure you use some of your own artwork. If you don't have artwork, maybe spend some time creating some artwork that you really love. I think I want something underneath that. So I printed a page of one of my favorite books, and I want to put this here, and then maybe the T on top of that. So I'm going to now just continue to add everything else. So as you can see, I'm not quite done with the one cover yet. And if you noticed, I did start to draw with this little paint pen over here in the corner, but I wasn't really happy with it. So I ended up covering it up. And that's the great thing about this is you might love something one week and the following week you may want to cover it up, and that's okay. One thing I want you to think about is also your composition. So composition is how things or objects are placed on your artwork. Your book cover is becoming your artwork. So try and think of balance and space and all of those things that we're talked about before. For example, I used this black and white drawing from my old sketchbook, and I made sure just to balance it out with some more of it over here. I have strong colors here, so I wanted to balance it with some more strong colors here. I really love this paper because it reminds me of sand, and it's pretty solid, so I can then draw on top of that later. But I like the sand because I love the beach, so I did some of the sand here and some of it here, and I'm going to keep working on it, keep adding on it, and then I'm going to do my back cover. As you can see, that I have pretty much covered up the entire surface of the front cover and the back cover. And what I realized as I was working is that I really love these blank solid spaces, because what I'm going to do once the glue is dry is I'm going to write some of my favorite verses from my favorite book, which I already have here. and I'm just going to write some of my favorite things or even create some more drawings in there. And then on the spine, if it's possible for you, or somewhere on your cover, I do need you to have your first and last name. So what I did is I just took a piece of notebook paper and I put my name, Miss Desmond, and the word art, and that is going to go on the spine of my book. And the great thing about this, boys and girls, is that you can really change this as you grow. So I decided that I wasn't going to put the comic strips on there, but I still have them here. So maybe one day I decide I want to cover up the word art and I want to put that on top. You can always add more and more to it by doing the same exact thing that you've done, which is just the gluing on the bottom, and then you glue right over the top to really keep it in place. If some of the areas bubble up like they did here, it just means that when you spread out the glue, maybe there was too much or you didn't pat down your paper enough. Now I also have some silver paint and some blue paint. So what I'm going to do once this all sets and once it's dry, I might go in and fill in some of the areas. I might add to it, I might not. I'm gonna let it sit, I'm gonna let it dry, and I'm gonna see how that looks. Now, if you feel like some of the edges are lifting up, one thing you can do is just take this clear tape and put it on top of all of it, and that will definitely keep everything in place. I cannot wait to see your creations, and I hope you have a really great time with it. So I added some of the silver and the blue paint around, and I added some black to kind of pick up on the black background. And now I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm just going to write some of my favorite verses in these empty spaces, or maybe even do some extra doodling. And then if I need to, I will cover it again with glue or even the clear packing tape.